All right, we are live. Sean, do you want to go ahead and unmute your mic? And Deanna, I'm going to let you two do the talking.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us live. For those of you that are watching this recorded, welcome. And I just wanted to give just a quick announcement. If you have not yet, I received some notifications from FedEx, and these were just general notifications that that they were having some delayed deliveries around the country. Like I said, just a general notification. So if you've not received your welcome packet that had a couple pieces of paper, some fun things, and a book, please let me know. Just send me an email, please. We have a new cohort member. He's on. Hi, hey, Bob Mathers. So welcome to the course. He joined at the end of last week. You have not received yours yet, but you should receive it tomorrow. I'll shoot you the tracking number tonight on that. So I just wanted to let you know there. So anyways, got that out of the way. So this week we are talking about value creation, your value proposition, and a couple of other things. We had some videos that it's best to watch those before tonight because it really helps prepare you. It helps you kind of conjure up questions that you might want to ask tonight. And then, working through the feasibility analysis on your value proposition as well by the end of the week. So with that being said, I would like to welcome Sean Branigan with us, who's already been kind of chit-chatting a little bit here. He is a longtime instructor for a lot of our programs that we offer at IVMF. And he's kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to marketing and communication and even just business ownership. He's been involved in a lot of ventures, been very successful in that way. And he also is a professor, among other things, at Syracuse University. He says kind of, at the Newhouse School of Communications. So I will not take up any more time, and I'm going to throw it over to Sean. And if you would take just a couple of minutes to kind of just introduce yourself, give the group a little bit of your background, and then if you could just kind of go into a little bit of what does it mean, what is a value proposition, what is its purpose, and the importance of that. And then as you're speaking, we'll have a lot of, I'm sure we'll have some questions. Just like last week, please just, if you're too shy to ask them in person, you can just submit them in the chat, and Sandra and I will be monitoring that, and I can ask those as we keep this moving. And then continue to please ask those questions live too via Zoom. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Sean.
Thanks, Deanna. Before you unmute again, I got a question for you. What videos did these guys look at?
So they watched.
That's the way that they can thank me later that I got you to say what it was. So they go, oh yeah, totally on that. Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones.
So we had videos from I don't know if you're familiar with Neil Tarallo. Yeah. He's an instructor and a director over at Cornell University. He spoke on entrepreneurial marketing and just kind of all the different types of marketing, really kind of a basic overview. And then the other video was, I will get back to you on the other video.
Creative problem solving.
There we go, creative problem solving. So Elizabeth Weimer, we recorded one of her keynote sessions at one of our VUI's programs to utilize for this course. She talked about, creative problem solving and what are the steps to do that? How do you go about doing that? What are some, activities that you can work yourself through? What do the greats do? How did they come up with certain things? Kind of went through all of that.
Okay. And thank you. So thanks for having me. And I try to come high energy, end of day for me. So I don't know what time zones you're all in, but I got my coffee and I did half calf, which is just my way of lying to myself because I have really highly caffeinated life. Anybody on this call take any of my sessions that I do, the 2-day introductory to entrepreneurship. Maybe you could do we have a hand raise here? No, we don't. Anybody? No? Okay. I wanted to know that so I could say hi and see if you moved on from, those 2-day sessions where you get introduced to the concept of, I like to say those things are about perspiration and inspiration. I like the concept that entrepreneurship is not about, yes, you're going to set your own hours, but it's that you work any 20 hours of the day that you want. You get to pick, right? It's for those who are already out running their own business. This is where the head nods start coming in. Yeah, it's a lot more work than it appears or that everybody tells you is worth it. A little bit about, do you want me to give Deanna, do you want me to give it what kind of a brisk background kind of thing? I'm an old, broken down old man.
Yes,
so I could go
that
on
would
a
be
long
great.
time.
Yeah, I know. I'll cut you off if I need to move to
All right, good.
Do not worry.
That's my,
If I can cut Dr. Haney off, I can cut anyone off, I think.
Oh man, that's big. That's up here. That's out of frame. See, that's out of frame. My family wished there was a mute like on Zoom here so they could mute me. I started, as Deanna was saying, I teach this stuff now at the Newhouse School. This is the longest I've ever been employed by anybody else. I've done my own businesses since I got out. I went to college to learn media and journalism. I decided not to take that path, started a business. It failed in 4 years. Then I took a job and immediately started dreaming of the next one because I was hooked on the process. Did a nice internet run, sold that business in 1999, went with the business as part of the deal. We bought up a couple of businesses over the course of the next 18 months. So I got to see the deal-making side of acquiring businesses during the dot-bomb period. I don't know if anybody's old enough to know the dot-bomb period when all the internet companies were worthless. Yeah, that's a good time to buy, just FYI. So we were buying them. Then I got out of there, which is my way of nicely saying I was fired. So they fired me because I was telling them the market had changed. It was 2004. I'm kind of that's my gig is marketing and reading markets. I was telling them 2004, it looked different. It didn't look like it was the dot-bomb anymore. It wasn't a buyer's market. It was a seller's market. And I'm glad to report that the nose was working well. That's when companies like Google started to really get traction, as did Facebook was launched in 2004. By 2006, 2007, you had the iPhone. You had all kinds of things happening. I spun up another business working with tech companies. Over the course of the next 10 to 15 years, I worked with over 500 startup companies, most of them in tech, not all of them, some of them lifestyle and small businesses. I'm hooked. I've been doing this for a long time. I've started my own, well, as of today, official, have a venture fund where we invest in seed startups in a terrible market, right? Which is exactly when you do it. Valuations are better, opportunities and founders are better because they're like you guys. They're not afraid to work. They're not just looking for money. They're looking to build a real business. So all through all that stuff I've done, the common thread is markets, how markets are seeing your business, how you market to that business. And I love how you can do low cost, no cost marketing, which is value creation and value proposition work. So I'm loving that I'm on this call. Deanna said, hey, can you talk about value creation? I'm like, what? That's my favorite topic. So entrepreneurs create value, engineers create features. And everybody thinks that a business is, especially tech businesses, are built by, oh, you have to build a thing and it has to do this thing, or an operations person. Entrepreneurs build value. They find the thing that's actually horrible and make that the value proposition. And I could talk a little bit about that, and we can take questions and all that stuff. So that's a little bit of background about me and what brings me to talk about value creation in a business. do you want me to give kind of overview of a value creation thinking pattern here?
Actually, yeah. Well, I actually have a question that might be able to kind of spur it
Yeah, do it.
Spur it on. So, so some of this, the cohort is really mixed up of probably about half and half. About half of this cohort has businesses that are already started. Half are kind of still in that ideation phase. But all are kind of still working through just testing their business, its viability, or their idea. And so really, this week they were focusing on, as part of their feasibility analysis, the value proposition. So in focusing on that, I just have a question. So what are some important questions that you should ask yourself and answer to create a compelling value proposition? That might be able to help kind of get us started here.
I'll go back to what is value. And
Okay.
Value, we tend to think of it as the product or service, and I'm going to tell you that it isn't. I mean, you have to have that because as a mentor friend of mine said years ago, because you got to put something on the invoice. So that's the service or the product that you have. The thing you're charging for is the product or service. The value is the emotional. And the difference is enormous. If you can add emotion to the delivery of any product or service, B2B included, I worked with a ton of B2B companies. When you're selling and you have an emotional appeal, not just, oh, please help me because I need the work. I saw one sign one time outside of a restaurant. It said, eat here, then neither of us will starve. And it's a great way to get that emotion of you eat at my restaurant and I won't starve and I'll be giving you food so you won't starve. You get the idea. But what I always do is try to tap into your customer's emotion. And the best way you're going to get that is this. You get in front of your customer and you talk about your product and service, but you're really not. You're talking to them about what's keeping them from buying from you. And I don't mean to then convince them this is salesmanship and I'm going to get you. Love salesmanship. But this is about tapping into what is either keeping them from saying yes to you guys, or what is it that they really need that relates to your product or service. And invariably, it's emotional. There's an old line about IBM. Nobody ever got fired from hiring IBM. You know what? I think that kept IBM in business for dozens of years. Because you'd go, well, this other product's better, this startup's really hot. Yeah, but if it goes bad and why do they buy from IBM? Because IBM has these services. Yeah, but so do all these 15 other providers. But I'm not going to get fired if I hired from IBM. You know, I think the new replacement for that instead of IBM is Microsoft. $1 trillion company. It's the sleepy giant that everybody goes, yeah, well, Amazon's really cool. And the value proposition with Microsoft right now, I think, is very much the old, you won't get fired for hiring Microsoft. That is you make a promise and then you deliver on it. But the value is attached to emotion. Safe. They want innovative. They say innovative. They'll say it again and again and again. And then you find out that the market really has an emotion that is, how can I be innovative but safe? And that's why they pick Microsoft. Other things to be thinking about in your value proposition, don't get hung up on the words. This isn't about who's the best writer. I always thought I was the best writer. I went to the Newhouse School, which is great communication school. I wasn't even the best writer in my class. Okay, so do the math on that. Am I going to make it as a writer? That's probably something I can say now that I couldn't say to myself back then. No, but it isn't about writing. It's about getting that vibe, getting a sense of direction by watching your customer, not a market. Market's too broad. Get down to the customer. Why did you buy my product? What is it you liked about it? Et cetera, et cetera. Another one I'm gonna throw in there is, how can you do a value proposition? And this is why I like marketing that's cheap or free. How can I do a value proposition that's so interesting and so easy that my customer becomes my salesperson? They're telling the next person that value proposition. I don't have to tell them, which is way more important to a customer, to hear it from somebody else, and not a testimonial. It's not my words coming out of their mouth. It's their own words saying, oh, I love going there because da 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 da. And that is built by entrepreneurs. That's what the value is. It's emotional. It's attached to that customer, not to markets. And then the words around it are carefully crafted, but invariably it's crafted more by the customer than it's crafted by you. If you pay attention to the customer, they'll give you the right words. How's that for a first volley?
That's perfect. I actually have a question now from Robert Burton. He asked it in the chat. How do I compete or let's see. How do I compete my value proposition with large companies with a large reputation? You may have just, he said you may have just answered it, that word of mouth and customers communicate my value proposition for me. If you have more to add on that, that'd be great. So he's really asking, you know, how do I compete my value proposition with other large companies that have a large reputation?
Okay, so I'm going to answer that generically, but Robert, if you could put into the chat what the type of business is, I'll try and get specific. In general, big businesses have an incumbent advantage. They're known, they're recognized, they're safe. Okay, so if you're competing against them, I'm a believer in just take them out at the knees. Just say, we know they're known, they're well known, they're big. I never say anything bad about them. And by just saying that, they're like, well, do you have something to say that's bad? You get your customer kind of leaning back like, wow, maybe there is something about them being around for so long and being so big. Say, I used to compete against IBM. And here's what we did. They would tell us we were about $125 million internet services company. And IBM is this massive company. And they told us, well, you guys are you're competing against IBM. I said, oh, well, you know, we'll probably lose. They're like, no, you got a shot, which is what I wanted to hear. I said, oh, so we have a shot. Great, I'll take that shot because we really love and appreciate you guys as customers. This is a company, a manufacturing company in a rural area of upstate New York. And they said, well, what do you know about IBM? So they're asking me about my competitor. I said, I don't want to say anything bad. But I will tell you this, that when they come in and they talk to you, I think they were about just shy of $1 billion company, a manufacturing company in a rural part of upstate New York. I said, you're going to get some of their best people coming in to secure this business. And I said, you're going to get a wonderful value proposition. You're going to get a proposal. Go and do that. I want you to do that. I want you to be the smartest customer you can be, and you'll see that we're good. Now, we may not win the business. I get that, but you'll see that we are good. And he's like, wow, okay, I get what you're saying. I said, but here's what I'd advise you. When they're coming to close on your business, you're a smaller customer than GM. IBM has GM as a customer. Are they going to send in the same hot shots that they sent to close your business when you are doing the job? So you might want to get them to say, yeah, the consultant who's in here at the table trying to get us to sign the contract, say, are you going to show up when I sign this? And if they say yes, I said, hell, I'll come down and I'll sign it for you. I said, because then you're getting really unbelievable big time talent. But I don't think they're going to fly to Olean, New York. I said that, but I don't want to jam them. I'm like, if they are, God bless them. But we do. We come down all the time. If they're going to do it, I'd be happy to lose the business to them. So what I did is I gave them a way to measure the competitor versus our service. Notice I didn't talk a thing about the actual service we did. We had to be able to be as good as they are in their service. Did Robert, what's your business, Robert?
He did. So his business is in a leadership and accelerated learning coach. He also wanted to mention that he is also from upstate New York, but retired now in North Carolina.
Oh, good man. He's got, well, you're missing a good day today, but this is it. This is the only day we get in upstate New York. That's a beauty. So I wouldn't say in the leadership business, there's no humongous company that is established and has high percentage of market share. So I would talk about, unlike an IBM in those days, this is back in 2000, when we used to compete against IBM. I would talk about there's a lot of choices they can have. And the reason there's a lot of choices is that there is no one size fits all. So that kind of knocks the knees out of them again, without saying anything bad about them. I would put it as if you're doing leadership training work, it needs to be customized. And a big company and customized, they don't actually sound like they go together well. If you want a tailored suit, you go to a tailor, and it's usually one or two people in a shop, and you get that kind of personalized service. If you went to the big manufacturing plant and had a tailored suit made for you, they probably wouldn't know how to do it. So I'd play up that kind of stuff. I don't know if that helps you in the leadership zone.
Thank you, Sean. All right, so I see Lamar has his hand up, but I had one question in the chat first. So we'll ask one more question there, and then we'll go to Lamar, and he'll ask the question on video. We have a lot of Roberts in the class. So this is from another Robert, Rob Battle. And his question is that he has an urban prepper business, which means he teaches disaster preparedness. There is a market because I have been doing a few pro bono classes and podcasts. How do I market to a bigger audience without paying a lot for marketing? So guerrilla marketing, so to speak.
Yeah, this is guerrilla marketing. I love guerrilla marketing.
Can I tell you one thing? I have a funny story. One of our employees, well, he used to be, he doesn't work for us anymore. He started his own business. And which is great, he would go into all the Best Buys and he would change all of the screensavers, the laptops, to his business. So that when people came and looked at the computer, they would see his business. So I'm like, that's kind of clever. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, amen to that. I love guerrilla marketing, and it is often about how you sort of break the system or bend the system to your advantage. But in the urban preppers, is there an issue or two? So this is a question, and I'll give a general answer, and then you can give me a specific answer to this question, Robert. Robert, is it Battle? Robert Battle, yeah. The is in the urban prepper space, is there a driving need, or is there a driving issue that has put it on the forefront? Has this pandemic been for example, has that been something? And if it is, does it change over time? So let me know on that one, but I'm going to say in general, what you're talking about is being a thought leader. And everybody thinks that thought leadership is a big business. And I'm going to tell you, in the world of social media, in the world of digital media, thought leadership is usually a smaller business. They're much more nimble. You can be a person and be authentic. You can do things 18 inches from somebody's nose with a YouTube video. You can, so I would choose not, oh, you have to be on every social media platform. No, that was good when it was 2005, you know, when there were 3. There are so many. You need to choose wisely. Where do you want to be where your customers are? How do I all our customers are on Facebook. Yeah, but what are they doing on Facebook? They're looking at cats and they're looking at grandkids and kids. Okay, and that's all good, but that's not close to what you're doing. So maybe you want to be on LinkedIn, and maybe you want to be on Vimeo instead of YouTube, and things along those lines, so that your platform choice is in alignment with you being a thought leader. So if you're going to be this urban prepper, which I'm going to tell you, I didn't know what that was at first. And so don't use terms that make people feel like they don't know something. I always try to use terms that make them know something they didn't realize they knew. You know, so this is urban emergency planning preppers, you know, something like that. So now you told me preppers, now I owe you one. And that's what you want to do, is create this, I make it understandable. And then the authentic part is don't do such a cleaned up corporate video of this presentation. I'm a believer in, and I'm keeping it clean on this call, I am well known for dropping F-bombs and other New Jersey expletives in my courses. That was the other reason I was asking, is anybody here? Because I was going to say, you're not going to recognize me because I'm not cursing, because I know it's being recorded. No, I'm kidding. But no, I'm not kidding. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Okay. But the idea that I do that as part of my brand and authenticity. It's where I grew up, Jersey City. Anybody? Jersey City? Anyway, it's part of a brand that I do with my students, because they'll come in and they'll say, I heard you curse a lot. And I had this one student who counted how many times I cursed in a 3-hour class, 122 times. And then I said something and he said 123. So think about, how do you make your voice that's appropriate to your audience, that you stand out, not that you're cleaned up. The mistake is looking like the corporate entity that you're not. Be as close to, you're 18 inches from their nose. And when you do that video, talk right to them. That's what I would recommend, especially, and I'm going to give you a little tip on these Zoom calls. Do you notice how everybody's eyes are always down? There's a little green light up at the top of your laptop. You stick a Post-it note on your laptop that says, look here. So that when I'm looking at all your wonderful faces, that's wonderful for me. That's not so much for you, because it looks like I'm looking down, which is actually a sign of bad trust. So I look right at the camera, and you should be doing the same when you do your thought leadership video, or when you do a blog, you write to them. It's a letter home.
Rob says, Sean, that he's in California, so wildfires are a big thing. Now COVID-19 and riot avoidance is a big push. And he wanted to put in a shameless plug.
Yeah,
he's
kind.
the battle prepper.
Yeah.
And he put his website in the chat. So
Battle prepper, good. I'm loving it. You got your brand right into the name. And to me, sometimes you can use a term that is, now I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth. I'm Irish. Don't try this at home. Only Irish people can do this. I can have an argument without anybody else in the room because I'm Irish. But one of the things that you sometimes do is you put in a terminology to qualify your audience. So I had a business for a while. It was tech marketing. And I would run into people and say, yeah, we do tech marketing. And when you say that, okay, I can't do a show of hands here, but when you say tech marketing, people who are my customer know exactly what it is. And people who are not my customer have no idea, and they usually guess. My job isn't to tell them they're wrong. My job is to say something they can say to other people when they go, okay, so here's the 2 typical responses. I do tech marketing. Oh, do you use technology to market? Yes, but what we do is we work with technology companies to make very complicated and very complex products understandable to go to the market so they can sell. Because tech companies only succeed when they sell their technology. And if they make it complicated and hard to understand, nobody buys. Our job is to do tech marketing. Is that my customer or not my customer? Not my customer. I'm giving them words for them to say to somebody else. Do they say it? I don't know. But if they do, they're going to get, oh, I ran into a tech marketer. They don't use technology just to market. They make technology understandable. And the person who understands a tech marketer would invariably say this. I would say to them, I'm a tech marketer. And they would say, do you do embedded systems? And I'd say, are you doing onboard embedded systems? Or are you doing, you see, the conversation is completely different. I didn't say yes. I'm asking them, or they'll say, oh, we're doing subsea cabling. Have you done anything in the subsea cabling? And I'll say, well, we've done a bunch in telecommunications. We've done all sorts of long haul connections. Have I done bottom of the ocean? Do you see what I'm getting at? It's like we talk tech, but we are marketing people. And when I run into somebody who knows that, they are telling me I am your customer by the question or the response to the term. So occasionally use that. So with your prepper, maybe you want to use preppers. If that's a term that people will know, and it's the emergency planning people in an urban setting who say, oh, you're able to do, like, when you say battle prepper, what are you talking about? We don't have battles here in Santa Monica. You say, no, battle's the name. We do prepper work for all kinds of disaster preparedness, and now you're in the conversation to close. When someone says, oh, like I did, battle prepper, oh, are you like, are you one of these people who help me organize my closet? No, not exactly. What we are specialists doing. And then you give them words they can say to their variety of friends that might be your customer.
Thanks, Sean. I'm going to go to Lamar. He had his hand up earlier. So Lamar, why don't you go ahead? You can unmute yourself, ask your question.
Lamar was talking about hot dogs earlier, so I like Lamar.
I was. Thank you for that, and I appreciate you being a part of this this chat with us. As everybody probably knows by now, I'm going into the hot dog industry, I believe, and one of the things that one of our videos that we looked at today talked and spoke about was creating an emotional, thing with our business. And I think one of the videos talked about a guy who loved jazz and loved coffee, and he combined those two businesses together to create sort of this look and feel. And then I guess what you do is you see that, and then somebody acquired them, and he got a lot of money from Nestle as a result of that, because he made a lot of money off of that particular model because he was so passionate about coffee and jazz that he made a lot of money in it, that he sold it to Nestle, and Nestle bought it from him.
Okay.
I guess the question I have for you is I have an equally amount of passion surrounding, not necessarily hot dogs, but the theory and the idea behind why I'm doing this. And for you, I'm just trying to figure out, well, hot dog is not my end. I may want to franchise it. I want to sort of create sort of a business or a brand around it. But as what you do, what do you look for when you're trying to take a business and turn it into something else, scale it?
I look at the founder. So we do investment, and I've worked with investment firms. I also work and advise what's called private equity funds, which are not investors, they're buyers. They buy companies. And I've been in the investment banking side, on the sell side. So when you take a business to be purchased. And then, like I was telling you, when I sold my business in 1999, and then we got on the other side of that in 2002, we started buying businesses. So I'm going to talk to you from that point of view. What people kind of tend to think is that it's the strength of the idea. And I'm going to tell you it's the strength of the management team. There's a line in the venture capital world that it's better to bet on an A jockey with a B horse than a B jockey with an A horse. And the point is that if I have a good founder with a pretty good business, I am way better off working with that founder than I am with a great business idea and I don't have a founder who's completely committed. So I'm going to give you a warning. If you're committed to the next thing, you're really telling them you're not committed to hot dogs. And nobody's going to buy the company that you want to sell. They're going to buy the company you don't want to sell. A friend of mine sold his business to Ticketmaster Live Nation. I was talking to him this past weekend. And he had offers from a bunch of different sources about a year earlier. And he should have sold in some ways. I mean, the math was great. But he loved the business and he wanted it to be owned by somebody who was going to take it to where he really cared it to go. That's the kind of founder. And you know what? He probably got he never gave me the number, and I'm not going to ask. It's none of my business. See, I cleaned that up a whole lot, Deanna. Did you see that?
No, that's good, Sean.
I usually use like 6 other adjectives in there, but I left them all out. I kept it clean. But he sold the business, to a company he felt was going to take it to the level he cared about. And they cared more about him caring about it, this business, than, oh, that's a good business, we're going to go buy it, and then let him run off to the next thing. It's a folly that we have that, oh, we're going to, like, franchising it is a great dream, but you want to be the hot dog guy. You want to be the guy who completely gets hot dogs, and franchising is just the natural extension of your passion for hot dogs.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that, because I read Steve Jobs' book, and his story is amazing, where he came from and all the things that he did in his business. So it's you know, he was very passionate about it. And then when you get board of directors and all this other stuff involved, the decisions aren't made for you anymore,
right.
and your baby's kind of gone, and it's not what you think it is. So I was just thinking, like, what was your thoughts on that? And you helped me out a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd say be as passionate as you can about hot dogs. If it's gourmet hot dogs, those are putting two terms together that don't belong. Like when you were talking about papaya hot dogs, like those don't belong together. That makes people interested. I think along those lines, if you're going to go into an understandable business like hot dogs, be the gourmet hot dog dude, be the quirky hot dogs, something that, you know, call them dirty water dogs for that. You know, that's, you know, the most delicious dirty water dogs ever in humanity, you know? Anyway, yeah.
Sean, I'm going to move to another question. Robert Mathers had a question earlier, but I'm going to ask his second question first because he's asking specific to what you were just talking about. He's wondering, he's here, he can wave, and you can ask a follow-up question yourself if you'd like to, Bob, but he's wondering, what does a venture capitalist look for in an A jockey, since you were on that topic?
I'm going to give you first is the four things that venture capitalists use when they're looking at a business. Number one is strength of idea. Not, is this a cool idea? Not, is this a one of a kind? Because they're venture capitalists. If they've seen it for the first time, they probably are doing nothing with it. I want to see strength of ideas, things like you have built it. It's intellectual property. You have something that you can claim, that you can keep. So that's about the horse. The second one is about the jockey. I want a management team. I don't want a single individual. It's a higher risk. Don't mean to be cruel, but what happens when they're not there? Does the whole thing fall apart? Yeah, but you need me because I'm the great. Okay, that's a bad investment. What I look for is diversity in that team, diversity of thought. If everybody looks the same, it's probably a terrible team. If everybody comes from the same school, it's probably a terrible team. If everybody is group thinking, terrible team. I want to see them argue. I mean, one of the ones we do is we make them argue. We'll say, well, I think that's BS that you're going to double your sales in the second. And they're being flustered. I want to fluster them. Business is about being flustered. What do you do when you're flustered? Not when everybody's loving you. That's easy. What do you do when everything goes bad? And so they're looking for strength of team in that it is crafted. There's somebody who knows the money side, somebody who knows operations, somebody who's out front. The three that I usually look for is an operator, so somebody who wants process and repeatable success, a visionary or a instigator, so somebody who's out front, kind of pushing the concept and the idea, maybe more marketing and sales oriented, and then a builder who's going to deliver this thing. Who's going to make the hot dogs? You know, how's that going to happen? What, magic? We're just going to buy them from somebody? Okay, I'm not liking that business as much as, oh, let me show you hot dog maker person. And they bring out the hot dog and they're like, okay, we're going to put them back over here out of the way because they need to go make hot dogs, not talk to people. They're not good at that. So that's strength of team. Third one is size of market. Investors need gigantic market opportunities. So when you say, oh, this could be $100 million, no. You got to be talking billion to billions in order to get investors. And I'm not telling you should all go after investors. I'm actually going to tell you the opposite. 2% of all starts are investor backed. And it's because that's the way it should be. They also have a higher failure rate. And they all end with an exit. That means you don't own it. You can read all the books about how Zuck owns, it's a rarity. That's why there's a story about it. Doesn't happen that way. It usually ends with the investors own it because that's how it works. And then the fourth one is traction. So I'm looking, did they do something beyond talking about it? Oh, I've got this idea and we made this thing and it works on Thursdays, every other Thursday, not every Thursday, but you get the idea. So there's no strength of idea. It's maybe a great team. It's a gigantic market, but they didn't do anything. I want to see that they've done stuff. In fact, what I'll say on all four of those, to answer directly, Robert, your question about founders, I want someone who's unstoppable. That they almost say, they shouldn't say this exactly, because then it's just too cute and you're trying to sell people who are in more pitches than you will ever do in your life. Where you pretty much are feeling like, we're doing this with your money or without it, we're doing it. That's an unstoppable force. And that is that's the most alluring part of founders. Generally, it's not about money. Founders are not motivated by money. They're motivated by, like I'll invariably get talking to founders and say, so what got you into this? And they'll go, well, I thought of this idea when I was, yeah. What made you think of that idea? Well, I had it. And they're afraid to say the real thing is my brother died from this and I'm just not going to stop until I figure out how to have this thing go away. Okay. That's an unstoppable force. I'm more inclined to bet on that founder, given all the other stuff I was talking about, than somebody who says, I see this as a huge opportunity. This is going to make a ton of money. Okay. We're venture capital people. We already have a ton of money. That's nice for you. Thank you for playing. See you later. Goodbye. What you really want is you want to get someone who's passionate. You want that vibe that they're unstoppable.
Thank you, Sean. I know Bob had another portion of the question. I'm going to come back to that. I just want to ask a question, kind of pulling back a little bit and going back to value proposition. Tiana had a question on could the fact that a business is veteran owned be part of the emotion response in a value proposition? Totally.
I wouldn't overplay it. I would play it in a way that is appropriate for the kind of service and product. I mean, if there's like if it's security, totally. I'd play that up big. If it's, let's just say a consumer product and hey, you would rather buy from a veteran than not. Okay, that might be your value your positioning. But remember that positioning doesn't work all the time. But know if you've done your work on your market assessment, if it's going to work in this particular case, great, do it. But I wouldn't overplay it. I would put it as part of your brand because it's a part of you. It's part of the founder.
Thank you, Sean. And I'll just stop saying thank you after every question here. I'll just move on to the next thing. We're going to go to Helena. She has am I pronouncing your name right, Helena? I know I probably wasn't. Helena.
It's Helena.
Feel free to correct me anytime I pronounce anybody's names wrong. I am horrible with names.
No, you're fine.
And so, yeah, feel free to correct me. So I apologize for that. But go ahead with your question.
Thank you. So it's Helena, just the way it's spelled. Thank you. And so I have a question about when you've gone through the ideation stage and you've tested your idea and you've come up with your value proposition and you've submitted your patents, but your patents have not yet been approved. At what do you recommend that people start selling their items while that patent is pending, or do you think it's better to wait until the patents are awarded before you get out there and start talking about it and drumming up all this support about a product that may or may not be yours, and you may or may not be able to stop other people from selling it if you don't get that patent?
Yeah, and I'm going to say a patent is a funny thing. It doesn't stop anybody.
Right.
As a lawyer friend of mine used to say, you never sign a contract that says you're not going to break the contract. And that's why there's a lot of lawyers. The idea that you get a patent could have advantage. I'm not a big fan of you have to have a patent, except with some exceptions. Medical devices, I work with a couple of companies that do medical devices, And then there's rules that you need to work within depending on where you are in the patent process. If you're revealing your product in a public space, you may not get the patent, not because the idea wasn't good or because it isn't unique. It's because it's now public. So I would check with your patent attorney. Do you have something to a patent attorney?
So I did the patent pro bono program through the U.S. Patent Office, and I'm waiting to be assigned an attorney.
That's great. Make sure they are an attorney. Generally, a good patent attorney has 2 degrees. That's why they're so expensive. They have a degree in law, and they have a degree in a science or technical area, and it should be related to the kind of product you have.
Okay.
So if they say, can you tell me a little bit about it? Don't go public.
Yeah. No, so it's a hair accessory for women.
Okay. All right. So it is a consumer product. So is it a physical or is it a chemical or? It's
an actual item, and I won't talk a whole lot.
So it's got a chemical part to it or something. I'm going to get let's just make it up. So it's got a chemical.
There you go.
Will it give me hair? Okay. No? Okay. So I'm not interested. No, sorry. But the idea that let's just say it's chemical, then you would want somebody who either is in chemistry or in biology or in one of those life sciences, as well as just get back to the intellectual property attorney. The other one is you may not have to get it patented. People go with this idea that if you patent it, it's safe. You know, the best way to protect it is outsell everybody else. What was the patent that Facebook had over MySpace? Nothing. They just outpositioned and outsell the idea of Facebook, meeting your friends online, and MySpace had probably a 4-year head start. Yeah. And so to me, execution, with some exceptions, execution and getting into the marketplace. If you've got something that is like absolutely, I don't want to say unique because unique is a funny word, but I'd say protectable, where it is okay, so I'm going to give you an example. In food, why are there no patents in food?
Well, they use the formula. They use their formula is typically protected, and other people can't use their formula. So they have something else that they can use as a protection outside of a patent.
Right. So Coca-Cola had the most famous of all these. They had the formula for making Coca-Cola. But it wasn't patented because you can't patent it.
Was it a trade secret though?
It was a trade secret.
Yeah.
So in other words, I'm just not going to tell you how we do it. And you can go to market with trade secret, and Coca-Cola is a perfect example of that. You have 3 or 4 people who know what all the ingredients are. You tell them, look, we're the secret group. We need to keep it together. You get a little agreement between and among yourselves, and don't tell. Don't even hint at it. And don't list it if you don't. But a patent is expensive, and if you're going to do it at upfront cost. Now, again, I don't know what it is. But if they say, well, we can do this as a method patent, that's weaker. We can do it as a, this is a unique, utility patent. That's better. But to me, I'd get into the market and just say it's a secret sauce.
All right.
McDonald's did it, right? We all know the secret sauce. Call it something like secret sauce.
Thousand Island dressing.
That's what it was. Yeah, without islands. No, sorry. But whatever they did, it was their secret, and you just keep it a secret, and that is a way to protect it as well. And a patent then has to be defended. And here's why patents are important for bigger companies, because they have the lawyers on staff to protect it. And you probably don't have lawyers on staff, do you? That means you have to pay to protect it. And you go, well, but I want to protect it. Well, how much? So you're $1 million business a year from now. And somebody who would be your huge competitor who takes you on, who starts selling the same thing.
We could say Revlon.
Okay, Revlon comes out with this. And you say, oh, lawyers, send them a cease and desist. And they'll go, okay, this is a piece of paper. We get these all the time. Put that on a pile. We'll answer with, oh, well, we think that we did not steal her idea. We have our own patents around other products that this is an extension of, and blah, 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 blah. Lawyer will answer to lawyer. And then you're going to decide, do I sue them or not sue them? And I'm going to tell you to change the line to, do I pay money to fight them, or do I just go into market? Do I just go into the market and fight them in the market? I'm going to tell you, go fight them in the market. Don't fight for a patent. That small businesses and patents is a business in and of itself. There's all sorts of invent this, and we'll patent your, because the business is, you'll pay me to patent it, and then you feel like you have something. And most of those don't ever make money. I'm kind of cruel here, sorry. Just trying to give you reality.
No, I need it. Thank you.
I would go to market with it. Keep it as a secret. Talk to the patent attorney. It's probably a good plan. I would ask, how much does it cost to patent it? And then the other one I would do, because I have been involved in companies that have a patent. Most of them are medical devices. Anybody was it EMT? EMT? Any EMTs? No? So when somebody's out as a paramedic and they show up at the scene of an accident, the likelihood that somebody is able to be revived is dependent on the size of the hand of the EMT. And
Kavaris, sorry,
Yeah.
Kavaris was an EMT. He just said in the chat.
Oh, okay. So,
wait, oh wait, no, it was Karima. I'm sorry. I got the two mixed up. I saw Kavaris logged in, and then Karima said, she was an EMT. Awesome.
So Karima, when you're an EMT, was there usually, I'm going to say 2 different sized people in the truck? Am I right? Or no?
She said yes, and she was also an LPN.
Right, because then you'll have the bigger person, bigger hands, smaller person, small hands. A child is having a heart attack. It's that you might have to open up that chest. This is horrible, but I'm going to give you the real story of why this is patented, is that if the size of the hand is the right size for that heart, the likelihood of saving that child's life on scene is greatly increased. If it's the wrong size hand, and look, these are the ones I got, that decreases the likelihood. These guys came up with a sleeve that you put on the heart, on the scene, with 100% you can revive the patient. That was patented. And when they patented it, they did what's called a moat. They patented every variety of iteration that you could do. So you get a group of scientists and engineers and say, here's our product. You sign that you're not going to steal it. And now we're hiring you to create knockoffs, and we're going to patent all the knockoffs. It's called a moat. So here's my product, and I own everything that's near it. And that is a full-on, when you have something that's patentable, you would want to have a moat around the thing that you're protecting, because then it's doubly protected. Somebody gets close and they go, we hate these guys. And that, so if you're doing a patent, be thinking about a moat around it. If they say, oh, there's no way you would do a moat, then know that it's not as safe a patent, because someone will do something right next to it, change 1 or 2 or 10 items and say it gets the same results, even though you know it won't. The customer doesn't know until they give their money, and then it's too late. So I'm really cautious on spending money on patents, especially early with a business. I'd say get into market, keep it as a secret, tell everybody it's a secret, tell them all, say it's a secret, I can't tell you. I don't even know. I wrote it down, I buried it in the backyard, I don't even know what's in it. You know, make it part of your vibe. And like, this is amazing. What's in it? Can't tell you. Wow, you can't even tell me. It's amazing. You know, that becomes part of the value proposition, is that it's a secret. Secret sauce. It's the Coca-Cola formula. All that stuff became legend. They weren't business things. They were legends. Good luck. Helena, I got you.
Sean, yeah, yeah, he says it right. Sean, we got another question from Angela Wesley. She asked it a little while ago, and she wants to open a cafe. The cafe isn't special with like coffees or pastries, but more it's special in who she employs.
Oh, cool.
She wants to specifically employ those with special needs and felons, those who need a second chance. How would she sell something like this to investors, or what would be your recommendation there?
To investors, I wouldn't sell it to investors because it's not going to hit. Remember we talked about strength of idea? Okay, I'm going to say that's great. Great management team. Angela, you're awesome. Yeah, great. You got a great team. Third one is size of market. There's no way you would scale this. I shouldn't say no way. It's not a fast scalable business. I can't today have 2 shops and tomorrow have 200,000. That's what venture capitalists look for, is not a linear scale. They're looking for a what's called logarithmic scale. They're looking for how can I keep doubling the business all the time, and even more than double, 6 times, 10 times next year, not percentage growth. That's what investors are looking for. Could you get funding for that? All day long. You could get funding for that from banks, from SBA loans, which they would love to do. And then I'm going to tell you, if you set it up right, you could probably get funding from alternative sources than just charging for the services at the cafe. You could be, through human services organizations that are in the towns where you are. And then if you want to scale that, then you have a scalable funding model as well. We're going to go to the next town over. We're going to talk to these human services companies about, we're going to employ their people, which is part of their job. When they say, well, does this work? Say, hey, why don't you talk to your colleagues over here in nearby city? And they're talking to their peers who say, oh, this is terrific. They've hired 13 of our hardest to place people. They're happy. We have coaching. They do that right in the location, all that stuff that you become the way to replicate it. But I would not go and get investors. Investors have their hand in your pocket. I would instead get a bank, pay off the bank loan. I clean that up too, because I have a little phrase. I won't give you guys here because I'm keeping it clean, is PBFL, so you can figure out what the letters stand for. PBFL is when you pay off that loan, you own it. The bank doesn't own it. They don't want to own it. They're actually going to come back and want to give you another loan. You do your SBA loan and it works. You paid off the loan. They want to come back and give you another loan, open up another cafe. So I would look at more traditional ones. And then third one is, depending on how you structure, and this is where you can decide you're going to be a not-for-profit, or you can be what's called a B corporation. I don't know, Deanna, if you get into B corporations with these guys.
So in this specific curriculum, we don't. In the EBV, in the entire EBV program, we do. This specific cohort were those that were planning on taking the EBV program, the traditional EBV program, this year, but was canceled due to everything that's happened with COVID. So in the interim, because we want to make sure that if they want to attend in 2021, they have an opportunity to do that. So we're trying to offer them some things in this kind of virtual course, but we can't dive super deep just because of lack of timing and wanting to be able to provide something. So we don't really get into B corporation, but if they have specific needs for certain things, we can connect them with people to get the answers that they need. And that's what we're trying to do.
So Angela, that'd be one that you might want to look at, which is to be a B corporation, is short for benefits corporation, where you're measuring something other than profitability and shareholder value. You're bringing community value, or you're bringing employee ownership and value. And So look into a B Corp and then take the follow-on course to really get spun up on that. But as Deanna's saying, she certainly could put you in touch with somebody who can tell you more about a B Corporation.
And Sean, with that, she has a follow-up to her question. She's wondering if her business plan then should be tailored more to the customers that she's going to serve, or should be tailored more on her business model of those she's employing.
Great twist to my answer, which I'm appreciative of. So you said your customer, and you have probably 2 customers here, or maybe 3. Customer 1 is the person who comes in, gets a great baguette, right, and a cup of coffee, and they're happy. And then they feel doubly good because they're helping their community, et cetera, et cetera. And there's examples of this. Deanna, do you know Ophelia's Place in Liverpool?
I do. I've never been there, but I know of it.
And it's a cafe, and it also does similar to what Angela's talking about. And then there's Transitions, I think is the name of it, in Armory Square in downtown. So there are examples of these. I would go talk to them because they can give you, it's not this highly competitive business. It's and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a very good way. They want to serve a mission as well as serve you coffee. Huh? You like what I did there? You see how I did that? I'm a professional. Thank you. But the idea that you have multiple customers in this case, you probably have those human services organizations as your customer. You may actually invoice them, or they pay you in some ways, where by the number of people that you're employing or something. I don't know what that mechanism is. Then the customer who comes in and buys the coffee and food item, whatever it is, and those are completely different. And then I'm going to tell you, if you go after foundation money, like a community charitable foundation, that almost becomes a 3rd customer for you. And I think all are legitimately your customers. And yes, you would need to be, I'm a big believer in giving them, everyone says a business plan. I'm not against business plans. I'm a believer in, you get into the business and the plan starts to emerge, and you're way smarter because the market's informing you instead of you're reading about the market. You're in the market, and it informs you quicker that way. So I would get into the market in some small way. Think about, can you do catering? Catering, and use, and use this this employment pool that you're talking about. Just give it a try, and then you will learn a whole lot about what is needed. Have you done something like this already, Angela, or is this a new concept for you?
This would be a new concept, and it's coming about because my oldest daughter is 22 with Down syndrome, and so in the high school they did like a coffee cart. So I did work at Starbucks for 3 years, and she applied there, and obviously she never got hired. So that was my I guess train of thought about it. But and there's a need in our area with as many people with disabilities who aren't employed, and then
big area.
Yeah.
And
so,
I gotta tell you, what you just said, you already sound like an unstoppable force. You see, you have a motivation that's more than, oh, I have to make a living, or I want to make $1 million. You've got this motivation of your daughter, and then you have your daughter's friends. So this is personal,
it is, and
that'll motivate you to figure this out. I think you ought to. Where are you located?
Houston, Texas.
Yeah, there's plenty in Houston, I'm sure. That, I don't mean plenty as in it's a saturated market. I mean the opposite. There's probably niche players that do certain variations of this. If you were to go off, sheltered workshops are not what you want, right?
Right, correct.
But you need to go talk to those places, because they will know about, it's not their competition. They'll know about alternatives to a sheltered workshop environment, and be able to tell you, oh, you should talk to, Bread Alone. And you go, wow, I had no idea they did that. Well, okay, you've already learned from their branding. They didn't tell you. You just go there and they're best known for this amazing bread. And then you find out, oh, they are taking transitional people coming out of prison and giving them that first job. And they make great bread. That's why the customers are coming in. And then they find out, oh, I'm also doing this bigger thing than just buying a nice loaf of bread. Things like that. I think you'd find a bunch of different models, and then you can start playing it in your head how you might do the same model for a different audience or different type of customer. You might say, I can vary it, and you can mess with the business model. I mean, you guys are going to all do, I think you're the Canvas, right? You guys do business model Canvas, Deanna?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. So one thing that we will touch on a little bit later on in the course, in EBV, in the traditional EBV, we focus on business model Canvas quite a bit.
Great.
And one thing that's been provided in your course documents is a 5-page PowerPoint on a business model Canvas, what it is, how to start it, how to put it together. And we'll touch on it a little bit later on throughout the course. So
how are we on time too? Because I don't know how
so
long
we've got about 5 minutes. We've got about 5 minutes left. We have 2 questions. And I'm going to go to Jay. He has a question. So Jay, go ahead and unmute yourself. If you can hear me, feel free to ask your question.
Hey, how's it going, Sean? I appreciate
Hey,
everything.
Jay, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Doing all right. My question is, my passion is helping other service members, active duty, military, and military spouses with finding resources and providing those resources for them. Because I've had a lot of people get out of the military and not know what to do and didn't have the resources they needed. TGPS wasn't enough, so they were stuck. So I help a lot find like a lot of good resources for individuals that are in that situation for transitioning. The thing that I'm realizing though, that is my passion, but my business is marketing for those organizations that are not reaching.
So you turn it around.
Yeah, because essentially I was putting out the information from organizations like Amazon and other, granted, they have a big name and they can reach a lot of different people, but when it comes to something I'll put out on my page, I can get a lot of views and a lot of people finding out about opportunities and signing up that way.
That's great.
Marketing is not my forte. It's like I said, I like sharing.
Sounds like it is now. Welcome to the world.
I was wondering if you had any recommended resources on things that I should be doing or looking at or reading, because essentially, yeah, that's I'm advertising for the organizations that I'm supporting because they're beneficial to the military members, military spouses, and veterans that are trying to find this information.
Yeah, I would get away from the word advertising first off.
Okay.
You're doing sponsorship.
Okay.
Sponsor and market reach or outreach, words like that. Advertising makes it has a cheesiness to it, and in fact, as an industry, it's in trouble because there's so many things eroding it right now. I just would move away from advertising, and that's just a strong opinion. And I'm going to tell Deanna here is to pass out my contact information. I am full in. I get all kinds of students who know marketing. So if you need some, I got them, especially now with COVID, and a bunch of them have lost their internships and they're looking to do stuff. So if they can work from wherever they're living and help you with marketing in something that's important like this, that's totally on. Quick answer though would be, I love what you're saying about flipping it. Instead of you're going to find the audience and then you're going to do it as a service and consulting. Instead, you're going to say, maybe you want to say that you vetted these providers. So you are curating them. It's not like anybody who's willing to pay, you're in. Nope, not on our site. These are all sponsored, paid, vetted, curated. They're really sincere programs that vets ought to be looking at. Veterans don't have to worry if they get them through us. That's kind of what your value proposition becomes to the veteran. To the company, they want to play to you. Like, well, how do I get through this process? Well, here's our 10-point process. You know, you write that tonight. And then the next thing is, is that you give them guidance on how to get on your list. And what you've done is you've created this, what's called an aggregator's advantage. You get the services want to be on your list because you're helping them deliver that service more accurately. And on the other side, veterans are going to want to use it because they know they're not going to run into nonsense. And then you have to hold that up. Nope, sorry, you can't be in. We love you, Amazon, but I guess we don't love you because you didn't do 8 of the 10 things. Sorry, you failed. Go back and do it over, and then we'll maybe look at letting you back in. That's power brokering. Unbelievable.
I appreciate it. That's solid. Thank you
And
so
and
much.
do send me a note. So I'm gonna. Should I give my? I usually have
So
it.
I can post it. Is it the SYR one you want us to share?
Do my startups at syr.edu is my
Got it.
my most efficient one.
Okay.
And then reach out to me on LinkedIn.
On
But don't
Blackboard.
just say, yeah, but on LinkedIn, don't just click and go, oh, please be my friend, okay? Because I'm going to hit delete. You need to add a note that says, hey, Sean, saw you on the, Spark. Is that?
Yep.
Give me something so
EBV
I
Spark.
remember, oh, okay, I got how we're connected. And then when I connect to you, I need you to look at who I'm connected to. Nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, hardly anybody on that list of people that are connected to me on LinkedIn are not known to me. These are people I either worked with, advised, got mad at, whatever. They're all not just like my linky dinky friends. These are for real connections. So if you see somebody there and you want to be connected out, I'm inclined to help, but I want it to be of value to them. So I will connect you to somebody that you go, oh my God, how do you know? I'm like, okay, I'm willing to connect you, but what's in it for them?
Mm-hmm.
I will be forever indebted. I'm their #1 fan. Yeah, okay, that's not good enough. You got to tell me something that, and I'll connect you. But I'm inclined to connect you guys.
I'll post Sean's email in Blackboard tonight as an announcement, so that way you can pull it up that way. I'll also put it next to his headshot that we have on the beautiful headshot from the Syracuse website. I'll put it right next to there under the webinar information as well. Sean, one final thing, if you can think of one book that you could recommend this class to read.
Oh boy. Okay. I'm going between 2 right now. So I'm going to go with the one that I've already read instead of the one that keeps getting recommended to me. It's The Originals. And it talks about that the world doesn't change when you conform. The world changes when you're a nonconformist. Entrepreneurs tend to be nonconformists. We don't want to fit in. I tell my students, you spend 4 years trying to fit in, and then you go apply for a job and you're hoping to stand out. Well, you spent 4 years fitting in. You don't stand out. Do something different in your freshman year, your sophomore year, et cetera, is what I tell them. So what I'm going to tell you guys is read that book, and it gives you a sense of why companies will say, oh, we want innovators, but they really don't. Because innovators are nonconformists. They do things. Remember I told you I got fired? With great pride, I got fired. And I always point out that they were wrong, right? So that's part of my pride of why I got fired. But but innovators, like entrepreneurs, like all of you guys, are willing to do it differently. And there's things that you can do to encourage that in yourself. It's a personality trait, but it's not an inherent, you just are born with it. That's nonsense. What it talks about is it's learned behavior. So for example, if you're firstborn in your family, you're probably less likely to be a nonconformist because you learned, okay, there's exceptions. I see, is it Angela over there shaking her head? Are you a firstborn? Yeah.
Yes, of 7.
There-
I'm the most.
Of
not-
7. Okay, so that changes it right there because
Same
you
here,
had
same
to.
here, of
You're the
7.
big boss, so you were the boss.
Yep.
So, but generally, firstborn generally are not the nonconformist. As a number 2, I can attest. I am like my brother paved the way, so I get to do all the things he didn't do. There's a whole bunch of other things, like little things that you can learn from on that stat sheet of here's what nonconformists do in the book. But also you can say, I can change that. I can now start using a different browser. That'll really get you. That there is, based on browsers that you use, there's an indication of whether you're a conformist or a nonconformist. The book is fascinating. So that's the one I'll recommend. It's not about entrepreneuring. It's not about starting a business. It's about changing the world and doing it by just saying, nope, I'm not going to conform. I'm going to set a different course.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sean. Sorry.
Thank all of you. Thank you very, very much.
Appreciate you staying with us. Again, Sean, thank you for your time. We'll make sure that they have your contact information. Everyone, just to give you a prequel for next week, I've already posted the information on the webinar. We will have none other than Elizabeth Weimer with us. She is the one, if you've not watched it yet, Creative Problem Solving, that you should have watched this week. Take a look at that. She'll be talking more on the marketing lines and into a further dive a little more next week. She also you will find 2 things that she loves most. One is coffee. The other is marketing. So she has a lot to say. She is engaging. So beyond if you can't be on it, we'll make sure that we record it. It's also nice to know if you're not going to be on it. So if you know you can't be on it, just shoot an email to us just so we know. And again, thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Reach out to me again if you did not receive your welcome packet yet, and I'll make sure to get one in the mail to you again, or check on where it is lost at. So again, Sean, thanks again. Really appreciate it. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, all.